On today's Join Us in France, a slice of life in the Lubéron with Heather Long.
We did a lot of eating, and the food trucks there, the pizza trucks are dangerous because we found one that we really liked and we followed him around to several towns. And it's just amazing how easy it is for them to make good pizza. The pizza in France, it's really good.
This is Join Us in France, episode 150. Bonjour, I'm Annie, and today I bring you a conversation about Provence with Heather Long, who lived for 2 months in the small village of Ansouis. Or maybe it is Ansouis, I can't remember. We recorded this a little while ago, and I know she corrected me. She told me the locals say it this way and not that way. See, that's the problem with the final S in French. You never know if you need to pronounce it or not, and if it's a proper name, then even natives can't guess. We have to hear it. Anyway, so she's going to talk to us about her stay in this quaint little village of the Lubéron. And what's the Lubéron, you ask? Well, it's a subsection of Provence. It's a little north of the Mediterranean Sea. Many thanks to the listeners who signed up to support the show on Patreon this week. Thank you, Mike August, who you heard on episode 131 about moving to France. And thank you, Mike. And also a shout out to your husband's podcast, Script Notes, another great podcast for those of us who are interested in writing. I must admit, I am hooked to that one, even though I'm not a script writer, but it's still really interesting to listen to them. My thanks also to the 55 other patrons who support the show month after month. I want you to know how much I appreciate your continued support. I just published the May 2017 episode of Lunch Break French, the bonus content for patrons. It's a piece in French that I wrote all about the Musée des Arts Forains in Paris. I had fun writing it, and I hope you enjoy listening to it too. It's advanced French, of course. Lunch Break French tends to be advanced. But, even if you're not that advanced yet, just listening and reading along, as you can do with Lunch Break French, will really expand your French comprehension powers. To support the show on Patreon, go to patreon.com/join us. And that's Patreon. Join us without any spaces or dashes or anything else. If you like this episode, you should also check out episode 110 on the Cannes Film Festival going on right now, episode 66 on Arles, and also episode 65 on the Pont du Gard, as well as episode 37 on the lovely city of Marseille. For show notes on this episode, go to joinusinfrance.com/150, the number 150. The inaugural tour is happening in a few days as I record this in Paris. It's this week. I will be posting pictures of all of our shenanigans on the Join Us in France closed group on Facebook. I am so looking forward to this. And we will keep you updated as to what we are doing. The next tour after this one is going to be in the Southwest in September 2017. To learn about our most current tour offerings, visit addictedtofrance.com. Okay, I have to keep it short today because I have to edit 2 episodes, one to post at the beginning of the inaugural tour and the other right at the end of the inaugural tour. I won't have any time next week to do any podcasting. So I better get on with it and start with my chat with Heather Long about the Lubéron.
Hello?
Yes, hello, Heather.
Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you well now. Fantastic.
Excellent. Okay.
Well, welcome to the show. I'm really happy to have you on. And earlier today, I was just reviewing what you had sent me in preparation for this recording. And I realized, really, this whole episode is going to be about making other people drool over what you did in the Lubéron. That's all we're going to talk about. So if you don't want to be... turn it off right now. Okay.
Yes. That sounds good to me. I'm ready to drool over my own stories.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so you lived in the Lubéron in a little village called Ansouis.
Correct.
For 2 months.
Correct.
And so that means you're Ansouisien.
Ah.
Well, actually, you're Ansouisienne. You are Ansouisienne, and your husband is Ansouisien.
I actually, for a while we thought the pronunciation was Ansouis without the S on the end, and then some of the locals explained to us that it was Ansouis, and that was because it's like a little Switzerland sort of.
Well, there you go. Okay, see, that's interesting because I obviously I'm not from there or anywhere near there. I've never been there. So I didn't know that you say the S at the end. That's always a problem with French. You can never be sure. So en Suisse.
En Suisse.
En Suisse. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So let's talk about the Lubéron. Why did you choose the Lubéron and what were you doing there? Well, I guess you could introduce yourself first. I'm sorry. Sure. I'm awfully rude. This is Heather, by the way, everybody.
Hello. So, yes, we actually, my husband and I traveled there through Germany because he was spending a lot of time in Germany, almost the entire summer working in Germany. And so then at one point we were like, well, maybe it's just a good idea to spend some time over in Europe together. And so we had been to France before several times, and we were actually looking to learn the language, more about the language and the culture. Mm-hmm. And so at that point we were looking for a place that we could do some immersion and that would be a little bit more away from some of the bigger cities and an area that we may not run into many English speakers or be able to speak English. So, that was actually...
So he was working in Germany, but you were living in Lubéron at the same time?
Well, yes, correct. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So he commute.
So, well, actually, he didn't commute. It was just being on the same time zone as the Germans that helped him out. So it actually just was being closer to the area.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, my husband also works for a big international corporation, and he runs into this problem all the time. Like,
yes.
Being on the same time zone is important for some work. Anyway, all right. Excuse me.
So that's how we arrived there.
Very good. And how did you pick this lovely place?
Well, we didn't know where we wanted to be exactly. I had done some researching around to find, an area we hadn't been to before because we'd been to other areas of France, and we're looking for something new. And like I said, we were looking for somewhere that may not have as many fluent English speakers to kind of force us into learning more about the language. Mm-hmm. And then wanted someplace kind of close to town that we could walk, do a bit of walking, to get to know people on the way to town. So we were looking for someplace like that, and it's unusually hard to find a place that you can walk from where you're staying in the villa and walk into town. So this was perfect. It was, oh goodness, not even a quarter mile into town. It's a tiny little town there. Not a whole lot of amenities, but there are a few restaurants, smaller restaurants. There's a small, like a bar kind of cafe there, one little grocery, one boulangerie, and a Michelin star restaurant was there as well.
That's
so
impressive.
It was, yeah.
I mean, when I looked it up, it said that there's about 1,000 inhabitants year round.
Yes.
So that's a lot, because I live in a village that's about 1,000 inhabitants, and we don't have that many things.
Yes.
I mean, we just go into Toulouse for many things.
Yes.
So we do have a boulangerie, thank God. But
you can't live without it.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's got to be close enough.
Yeah.
But see, it's interesting what you were saying, that you wanted a place that you can walk to, and that's not so easy to find. In French, that's called maison de village.
Ah.
So une maison de village is a house that's within the heart of the village, because a lot of French people build houses just a little bit further from the center, so it's going to be a couple of kilometers or something like that. And that's not a maison de village, that's a lotissement.
A lotissement.
A lotissement, yeah.
A lotissement.
Yeah. And what's really interesting about those old houses in Provence, especially, and it's true also in Occitania, is that these old maisons de village, in the very, very olden days, the ground floor is where the animals used to live.
Ah.
And then you would set up your house above. So you had like a barn at the bottom, and then you lived above. And that's still my brother bought a place in the Pyrenees, and that's exactly what it was like. It's barn, and then people go up. So
I'm sure that was the case with the villa where we stayed as well. Is
that right?
Yes. We kind of walked the property looking for signs as to what it used to be, and it was an older mill. The sort of mill I'm not sure, but we could. There were old millstones included in the home, and just the design of it, you could tell it was not originally just a home. So, and actually the second place that we stayed was in Marindal, and that was where they farmed silkworms. And so it was interesting. They still had some of the holes where the poles would go through the side of the building. And it was the gentleman who ran the establishment had a lot of historical stories about it as well, which always makes just a more interesting stay.
Of course. So Marindal, can you spell that? I've never heard of that.
Yes, it's MER. INDOL. I'm thinking.
Merindol then.
Merindol.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. Very nice. Oh, so you changed house in the middle of the two ones?
No, these are two separate trips that I spent in the same region. So not too far apart. The areas maybe 20-minute drive between the two towns. So very centrally located to the Lubéron.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start maybe by locating the Lubéron on a map for a second. Mm-hmm. Your little village of Ansouis is about an hour north of Marseille. So it's in the inland part of Provence, and the Lubéron is exactly that. It's inland Provence, but to the west of Provence, because I know this is going to drive people crazy, but when Americans say Provence, well, to them it's that blob over there. But to us French people, Provence is actually divided into several sections. And so you have I published an episode just a couple of weeks ago on a honeymoon in the French Riviera. So the French Riviera is all the way east, almost to Italy. So that's where you'd have places like Cannes and Nice and Grasse and, all these. And there's even that beautiful little village that, what's her name? The French, the lady who wanted to be a French chef, the American lady.
I'm not sure who you're speaking of.
She died a few years back, and there's a movie by her played by Meryl Streep.
Yes, this is so famous woman.
Very famous. Anyway, she had a house in I think it was called Châteauneuf Grasse or something like that, up in the Riviera, in that area. But that's not where you are. You were right above Marseille. Half an hour up from Marseille is
correct.
Is Aix-en-Provence, mm-hmm. And that would be another half hour up from there is your village, and it's
correct.
kind of a rocky, hilly kind of place, right?
Correct. Yes. There's two actually sort of mountain ranges, I guess. The Lubéron is a massif, is that correct?
Yeah.
And so there's two, the smaller one, the Petite Lubéron, is in the south, and then there's sort of like a valley between the next massif, which is a fun little drive to do as well. It's a lovely, very picturesque drive to go kind of like from that road that goes from Lubéron or Lourmarin all the way.
To spell that one, because again, I don't know that city. So how do you spell that?
It's Lourmarin.
Lourmarin.
Yes, Lourmarin.
That's right. Lourmarin. You can say it. You have a good ear. That's good.
And then you go from there, and you go kind of like through and over that first massif, and you can go all the way, take that route all the way to Gourd, which is beautiful drive, very picturesque, and stop at little towns along the way there. There's some really beautiful ones.
Right. And the Lubéron was made famous, as far as English-speaking people is concerned, by the books by Peter Mayle. Is that how you say his name? Mayle?
Yeah, I guess I have never actually read those books, which I think I'm probably the only one still out there.
Everybody's read A Year in Provence and Toujours Provence, and there was I only read the one because I mean honestly it's hardly high literature, but it's pleasant enough, and it really made a big difference. I mean, it brought a lot of visitors, English speaking visitors, because it paints this idyllic picture.
Oh, it's a very beautiful area. That there's something about all over France. There's something about the light and the way that the topography kind of reflects the light. It's just a lovely area of France, and very down to earth people. It's an agricultural area. There's mainly farmers. It's wine country as well.
Yep. Wine, olive oil.
Yes.
Some vegetables. And tourists. That's these are your occupations. It's either going to be you work with tourism, or you work as a winemaker or wine cellar or something, and or olive oil or fruits and vegetables, I guess.
Yes, and it's the part of France where it's a vine field on the street, and then you turn the corner, and then it's sunflowers, or it's lavender, or apples and pumpkins. It's a very pretty area. And if you go around, September, October, you can see the vines turning into red, and that's just a spectacular view as well.
Yeah, that's very nice. And I'm sure I've mentioned it on the show before, but I'll mention it again. The reason why it's a lot of France is so scenic is because those small parcels of land do not belong to different people, and so they don't all want to be farming the same thing. And so it's not like America, where a farmer will buy 2,000 acres. Contiguous, if possible, because then it's easier to farm. Nobody does that in France. I mean, there might be a few areas just a little south of Paris where there's some of that agriculture, where it's, big farmers that have lots and lots of land. But in France, for the most part, it's farmers that have either bought or inherited small plots that are right next to somebody else's bit, and so this guy wants to do sunflowers, and you have grapes, and that's you each do what you want, what you think you can make the most money out of, and so
yes, so that makes sense. Yeah, that's what it's like.
Even sunflower, for as pretty as they are, if that's all you have for acres and acres and acres and acres, well, you stop paying attention.
Correct. Yeah, it just becomes monotonous.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So the Lubéron is definitely a really scenic thing, and there's great stories. There's great books, of course. Manon des Sources, Jean de Florette. and other books by the same author, Marcel Pagnol. I read them when I was a kid, and there's great stories. Le curé de Cucugnan. Anyway, Cucugnan is not in Provence, actually, it's in Occitanie. But anyway, there's a lot of really great stories, both told to and by French people and to and from English-speaking people. So it's a rich kind of culture type of place.
Oh, I'd love to read them. I hope you reference them on your webpage.
I'll put them on the webpage, yeah.
Yes.
But they're old books, It's like, it would probably feel like reading The Little House on the Prairie.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Those types of quaint old books that you either love them or you can't stand them. So
I recently read a book that referenced the area as well. It wasn't set entirely in the region, but the Little Paris Bookshop, and that was there was an episode where he travels through that region. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. It was just, I fell upon it, but it was an interesting, it's always nice to read books that are set in places that you're visiting.
And very soon on the podcast, we're going to review a book called Uncorked. I can't remember the whole name of the book, but the author, Paul something or other. I'm sorry. I'll put a link on the show notes again because I can't remember his name. But Paul was very nice. He reached out to me and he said, can we talk about my book on the Lubéron on your show? And I said, well, that sounds like an advertising to me. So no, but I said, well, but if you want to give me a few copies, a few listeners and I will read it and we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
So he's out of the...
Like a book club.
Like a book club, exactly. Uh-huh. So that'll be the first book we're going to do on the book club. And if you want to read more about that, you can go to Goodreads, which is people who love to read will know what it is. And on Goodreads, I've created a list called the Join Us in France Book Club. And we'll do occasionally, this is just starting, but we'll do an occasional book club. And the first one is going to be on the Lubéron. So there you go.
Very nice.
And it starts with a great story about playing pétanque. Did you guys try the pétanque?
I assume you mean the sort of bocce type of game that they play?
Yes, but don't you dare call it bocce. It's not bocce, it's pétanque.
I know.
For the love of God.
I actually didn't know that that's what it was called. We've watched many games, and it's completely entertaining to watch people, and they are so passionate about it. The older gentlemen of the village a lot of times have a grand time together playing, and we enjoyed watching them, but no one invited us to join in, and we were just okay to watch because we may not have been very good.
Well, it takes a little bit of practice, but pretty much the game is you can play in teams or you can play one-on-one, but you have this little no, it's not plastic. It's a wooden ball. It's a cork ball kind of thing. That's not very big. It's about the size of a golf ball or a ping pong ball or something. And you throw that out, and then you have to get your metal ball as close to that as you can. And there's some convoluted rules, but it's kind of fun because it gives everybody an opportunity to just fuss about nothing and and start measuring stuff and go, oh, you cheated because it's not, just so that's how it works. It's
all in good fun. Yeah.
But they do competitions. In my village, we have actually a big competition once a year where they turn most of the area of the center of the village. They just put sand all over and they do dividers and whatever. And all these serious competitors show up from all over the country to do a pétanque competition.
Like the World Series of pétanque.
I guess. It can't be that big because it's not that many people. But it's fun to watch. It's just it's a great game when the weather is nice. Because it doesn't take much. I mean, you need balls and a few buddies to go. Because if you want shoot pools, mm-hmm. Well, you need a pool table, right? Mm-hmm. But this you can just do on any old. My neighbors, they do a yearly party with his friends, And we live on a little gravel road. Well, it's not very long, but anyway, they divide up the gravel road to be their pétanque things, and he plays with all his friends. It's kind of funny. It's just a silly game French people like to play.
It's just a way to pass the time, I think, and enjoy the company of another person, some friends. And
exactly.
There's probably wine involved if I know anything about Frenchmen.
When the game is over, yes.
Yes.
French people we have very strict rules about when we drink. We drink plenty, but there are times when you do drink and times when you don't drink. So while playing the game, I don't think they'd be drinking. Maybe a beer if it's really hot.
Mm-hmm.
But wine you would drink, when everybody's done, you all go to the cafe and have a aperitif, and then all bets are off. So did you try and cook some local foods and all that?
Oh, yes, we did so much cooking, and that was one of my favorite things about being there, is just the availability of every sort of ingredient and produce and meat. And we did a lot of cooking just from going to the market and seeing what's available and taking home something and trying to recreate an experience. And there's nothing like those ingredients. You cannot recreate it here in the States. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It must be just the land. That's all I can think, is that the land makes the food taste different, and the experience of being there makes it taste different.
That's true.
We cooked, duck, mostly duck and rabbit. We actually did do rabbit, which is a new thing for us, but it's so fun just to see what's available and pick something that looks fresh, and come home. And we had several groups of friends that came to visit us while we were there, and the evenings of eating outside and overlooking our little town in the distance, eating by candlelight, those memories will last forever. They were just delightful. And oysters, we ate a lot of oysters by the pool, just cracking oysters and drinking a bottle of white wine.
Do you know how to do that?
Yes.
Very good, very good. Because opening oysters, I mean, I can do it fine, but lots of people don't know how.
It's not easy. I'm not going to say I'm a total expert, but when I'm hungry and the oysters look good, I don't have a problem.
And the thing is, with oysters, you can't start drinking the wine before you open all the oysters, or you'll slice your hand open. So just, this has to be done before aperitif starts. Otherwise, there will be death and carnage.
Yes. It can be dangerous.
That's
true, for sure. We didn't have any mishaps like that, but everybody pitches in, and it gets done quickly.
Yeah.
But we did just, a lot of times pick up food at the markets. There would be, the man making the paella, fresh paella would be there.
Yeah.
And they have rotisseries, which they would cook these beautiful chickens, or there was a rabbit with mustard sauce that they would cook in the rotisserie. And then beneath the rotisserie would be this big, huge pan of potatoes or vegetables, just kind of catching all of the drippings from the chicken, and the chicken would baste the rabbit as well. So pretty often we would go straight for the rotisserie at the market, and
of course
order a rabbit and tell them we'd be back in 30 minutes, and they'd get it going, and we'd look around and pick up some vegetables that we saw. And
now that spring is back, we're going to probably start doing that too. We have a little Sunday morning market walking distance from my house, but it's too small. I like to drive to a little further and get to a place where there's more choice. But the line for the chicken is like, if you go at like noon or 12:30, it's like packed. You have 20, 30 people ahead of you wanting to buy their potatoes and chicken. So
Yes.
men will even go shop for that. Men who never shop for anything will even go shop for that.
Yeah, and it's, you do get to know the markets as well. That's something about staying there long term. You see the same people at every market, you see the same vendors.
Yeah.
They get to know you.
Yeah.
You know which ones are better than others because, like you said, the one, right in Ansouis, that was sort of a small one, although they did have the rotisserie gentleman was there, but there were better ones around. The one
go, yeah.
Lubéron was a beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous market with textiles and animals for sale.
Which city is that?
That's in Lubéron.
Lourmarin. It's at the end. You need to do an
okay.
not an on.
Okay, Lubéron.
Lourmarin.
So that was one of the better markets, and that's on Fridays. And it's just, you could spend, all afternoon there. And then they have a delightful pizzeria there as well that I highly recommend. The pizzeria Noni. And especially the pizza with the egg on it is
yes,
afternoon. We went there many, many times. So it was a regular stopping.
Yes. So you did okay, so tell me some of your stories. I read your long email like just an hour ago. I already forgot because I was reading and laughing, chuckling to myself. What are some funny things, some things that delighted you about being there?
So of course, before we realized that there were going to be this access to so many markets with all of the fresh produce and fresh meats, we just had arrived to our villa, and the next day my husband gave me the task of going to the grocery store, and we were going to be there for 2 months, right? So, stock up on all of the necessary items that we would need, but because we do like to cook, and we were going to be there long term, and he was going to be there all day long, kind of working. And so, we needed food on hand.
Yeah.
And just, other things as well. So he sent me to the grocery store, which was probably a half an hour drive from where we were staying.
That's funny how you say he sent you to the grocery store.
Well, because, it's a new area. I don't know my way around.
Oh, I see what you mean. I'm like, what? Do you need your husband to tell you to the grocery store?
Well, no, but I was intimidated by it because it's not, to do it on my first time by myself.
Yeah,
it was intimidating, and to find a way there. And Pertuis, where the grocery store was, is sort of a bigger city, so just finding my way there was a little bit difficult. But I got there. Of course, you have to figure out that they use the carts with the token or with a euro. You have to put the euro in to get the cart out.
Yes.
And then the cart is going sideways and uncontrollable. You can't control the carts.
That's true. French carts are not the same as American carts.
All four wheels turn.
Exactly. So that's one of the things that my husband complained bitterly about when we first moved here. He was like, I don't want to go grocery shopping because the carts are unruly. And I'm like, what the? You don't want to go shopping because you don't want to go shopping, but don't blame it on the carts. But it's true. They're different.
And you can be going down the aisle and completely, lose control, and you're like sliding into another lady with her cart. So you have to know what you're doing. So that was, that's a different experience. And then of course I pile my cart high all the way up and over the top because, 2 months, that's a long time. And so I'm thinking, get as much things as I can on this one trip.
Okay.
And no one else, is shopping that way. No one else is shopping that way in the store at all. And then so I get up to the checkout, and she huffing and puffing and rolling her eyes at me, and she's saying things to me I don't understand, but she's so upset. And then I start piling all my things on her conveyor belt, and
Yeah.
she's looking at everything, and she's telling me I'm doing something wrong. So I have no idea what it is I'm doing wrong. But it turns out that you have to measure and weigh all of your own produce and mark it
Yeah.
in the produce section. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I have all of my things already on the conveyor belt, and I have to take them off and run back to weigh everything and figure out how to work that system. And
So
meanwhile,
I have to stop you because actually it's even worse than that. Not every grocery store does it the same.
okay,
So at one of the grocery stores where I go, they weigh the stuff at the cash register. But most of the other ones, you have to weigh it. You have to go find the scale and find the number or find the picture of the item and push that and then stick it prints out an etiquette. What do you call that? A
a
sticker.
ticket, yeah, a sticker.
Yeah. And you stick it on and yeah. So not every store is the same either. So it's a bit annoying.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't so awkward. I felt like just the dumbest American tourist because I had no idea. But it's a learning curve, and as
Of
long as
course.
you're not afraid to fail. Many
Yeah, you
things
want
were like that
yeah,
we experienced.
you don't yeah, you're in a different country, so obviously things are not going to work the same and you're going to be surprised.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And not to be intimidated by them, because a
No.
lot of times that leads to new experiences that are fabulous, and you wouldn't have had them if you
Mhm.
were afraid of trying something, or of looking foolish.
Absolutely.
So, and another thing that happened, like kind of along that same line of not being intimidated, the first week that we arrived, we had seen on sort of the town website, before we had even left from New York, we had seen on the town website that there was some sort of like Heritage Day celebration that was going to take place
Good.
in this little tiny town.
Mhm.
And so, just I self-translated the message, and it basically said, there will be a barbecue party. Bring your own food, bring your own dish, or
Mm.
bring your own meat, something along those lines, and that everyone in the community was welcome,
Yeah.
and there would be a fireworks display. So we had no idea if that was really accurate information or not, because there wasn't any like sort of signage. We had looked around town to see if there was, a sign about it, and there wasn't, but we packed up some lamb chops and some rosemary, and we went up to the bar and
Yeah.
sat at the bar with our little package there, and just had a few beers and watched to see what was going on.
Yes.
And for up until the time where like it was getting sort of twilight, there wasn't anything going on. So we were like, oh, well, we must have got something wrong.
Yeah.
But
We're in the
then
wrong place.
yes, but then they started to close off the street. And there's this one main street that goes through town. It's kind of a cobblestone street, and that's the same street that all of the main little like stores and the bar and the Michelin star restaurant are all on this little street. So they
Mhm.
closed off the street and started setting up tables, and they did, like these cute little candles on the tables. I think they were like in paper bags. They
Mhm.
started up the barbecue, and so we were one of the first people to arrive,
Right,
which
right.
is often awkward. But we
Yeah, but you don't
and
know. I mean,
well, we were new at French. It wasn't
yeah.
weren't fluent, but we got by somehow, between sort of our mix of French and their English, and made friends with the guy who was started up the barbecue, and when he saw that we had brought our own meat, they were impressed. They were happy and to include us. And so everyone came. Everyone in town ended up coming. It was like one long table down the street. They the local winemaker brought all of the wine that everyone was welcome to, and all of the people from the town brought their own side dishes and kind of passed them amongst each other when you're sitting at the table.
Yeah.
And we got to just enjoy the evening. There were people who just learned that we spoke English and then wanted to meet the Americans who came to,
of course,
France to learn French. And
did they try to get your husband drunk? Because this is totally what would happen in my village. So I'm just asking.
I'm very sure that was probably the intent. Yes, that was probably the intent. Just,
yes.
But in a good, like, very good natured. They were very charming.
They're very nice. They're very nice. They know that you're not from around here. So they go, we gotta. But they like you, right? So you're friendly, so they go, let's keep serving you the wine and see what happens.
and I feel like just the fact that we weren't intimidated to come to something like that we had no idea, we didn't know anyone, and that what made them more endeared to us. Like they were impressed by that, and they
they love that. We've done this a few times in my village too, and we've taken American, because very often, like starting in the spring and summer, we're just like you did. We're going to have different waves of visitors come and stay for a few days, and and so we try to involve them in village life if there's something going on. And every time it's the same. We just go sit down, and think, here's the American. They brought new customers. Let's go all see what's going on over there, and they all come and say hi and try to get the men drunk. So they'll start dancing or something. I don't know what they're expecting. That Americans will be ridiculous, and I don't know. They can't hold their liquor or something.
Well, I hope that we changed that idea. I don't know. We drank a lot of wine that evening. It was, and it actually ended in the most spectacular firework display we had ever seen in this tiny little town, just off the hilltop. It was tremendous. And we got to know people by name in the town that we would see later, just walking around, and invitations to their home. It was a good way to start off our trip. So don't be afraid to try new things. That's
and you have to know that French people seem very, very unfriendly at first to Americans because they don't smile at you on the streets and they won't talk to you on the streets. But once you have been, I don't know how to even explain this, but once you have been introduced, or once you have been in a situation where you've interacted, it's really easy after that.
Yeah.
So it's important to either go to events like this or join you only stayed for 2 months, but for people who stay longer, join an association that does something that you're interested in. Whether it's a sport or a cultural activity or whatever, you have to be if you're a joiner, if you're somebody who will go join the group, they'll love you.
Yes, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Yes.
Yeah. So that's fun. That's fun. The other thing that you had, I'm going to go back to this because you had mentioned it in your in your written stuff, that you didn't know that you were supposed to bring your own bags at the grocery store.
Yes.
Did she give you a hard time about that?
Yes. Oh, okay. Yes, she did. Which I think is just, a very responsible thing to do environmentally. And I do it here in the States as much as I can remember. But for the life of me, I don't know why I didn't realize that. And even in the villa where we stayed, they had baskets that were just for going to the market, and they were for the use of whoever was staying in the home. Baskets and bags as well, just grocery bags, the ones, the reusable kind. So Yes, that's definitely something that they're passionate about. And
Yeah.
if you don't bring your bags, I don't know that they have them. You have to buy them.
No. Yeah, you have to buy. So what you do is you buy, well, you either buy the reusable bags that cost, euro 50, I don't know, maybe 2 euros, or they will sell you a little plastic bag that's in the shape of a garbage can, the standard French garbage can.
Mm.
And then when you empty it, you use that as your garbage liner.
Ah, okay. So it's
Yeah.
recycled.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They won't give you any bags that you can't use. I mean, if you're buying like apples, yeah, those come in a bag. But this year they changed them to where all the stores have to do. It's kind of a different feeling plastic. Next time you're in France, pay attention to that.
Okay.
The plastic that they give you to put your apples or your whatever, your vegetables that you buy loose like that, it's some sort of biodegradable
Oh, yeah.
plastic because they don't want to do any more of that, the plastic that lives for 100 years or whatever. So, yeah. So how did you find the house you were staying in? Was it Airbnb or?
Yeah, sort of not Airbnb, but HomeAway or VRBO. They're owned, I think, by the same company. So yes, both times we were staying in the region, we found homes through that website, and it's just a great way to live in the community when you have your own home and you can sort of live like a local. That's a different experience than staying in an apartment or in a hotel or apartment, I guess, would be the same, but
Yeah.
rather than staying in a hotel, because you meet more people, usually there's someone, a caretaker that is on site when you arrive, who you can, talk to and ask about certain things.
Yeah.
The time we stayed in Marindol, the gentleman who was on site there, he actually was very friendly and very helpful and had maps to show us, different hikes we should try. And we had him for dinner one evening, and it's more of a relationship than
Yeah.
just a hotel,
Oh yeah, yeah,
reception.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's
yeah,
very good. So what are some of the places that you went to that you recommend in the area?
yeah. So one right close by to our town there is the ice cream place, L'Art Glacier.
L'Art Glacier,
Lac
yes.
Glacier.
Yeah.
So that place is actually a very high-end ice cream maker. They make all sorts of delightful little concoctions like basil, blackberry, rose, lavender ice cream, all of these, unusual flavors, and they make them for high-end restaurants in Paris. And so the manufacturer just ended up being right there. And it's also a extremely picturesque little ice cream shop with a courtyard, a beautiful courtyard that is up on this hilltop overlooking the valley below of the Lubéron. And it's a great place to go just to take in the vantage point, but just to have some delicious ice cream. The rum raisin is to die for. The raisins are like so plump and fresh, and they're full of the kind of pop and full of rum.
Nice.
So that was our favorite flavor, I think,
Yum,
there.
yum, yum. So was that in your village? Was it in Ansouis or was it somewhere else?
It's just outside of Ansouis. It's just
Okay.
outside of Ansouis, and it's not in a village at all. It's very rural, and you wouldn't maybe even know what it is or find it unless you're looking for it. So,
Yeah.
but
If somebody didn't tell you about it on a podcast, you'd never know.
exactly. So
So
that's a good stop to
so
make.
L'Art Glacier near
La
Ansouis.
Glacier, yes.
Yeah. Nice.
And then two of the wineries in the area were stops that we would make on a regular basis because we got to know them. And then also one of them was just really unique. It was the Chateau La Dorgonne, Dorgonne.
Okay.
And that place has that It's just a local winery in the area, but it's the way that they do their tours is really delightful. They give you a pamphlet with a map of the vineyard and the groves, because they also have olives there, grow olives as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they send you off on this path to walk the winery and the vineyard. And they send their 2 dogs, which follow you and kind of lead the way a little bit as well. And then the pamphlet kind of guides you through what type of grapes you're going past right now at this point, and what type of wine these grapes make, and how we tend these vines versus other vines on the.
Very nice.
It's very informative, and it's well done, very well done, and it's a delightful walk. And you go through the olive grove as well, and the dogs are just. They're so friendly, and they just, it's
well,
like
they probably like the visitors. They get a walk every time. They like it.
Yeah. And then you come back for a taste, and that was one of our favorite places. And then also just outside of Lourmarin. Everyone's gonna laugh at my French.
No, it's fine. You sound pretty good. It's just that you forget.
Yes.
you forgot between the last time, but it's okay. Once you hear it again, you can say it. So you're ahead of the pack.
Okay. And there is a winery outside of that little town that's William Chase. It's a British gentleman who took it over, and they have delightful wine, but also they make spirits there as well that are fantastic. They have the woman there, Fanny, is great in the tasting rooms. We just got to know her very well, and we went back. Our
next name is Fanny.
Fanny, yes. Mm-hmm.
That is such a Provence name.
Yes, it is.
The Provençal name.
Yes,
Fanny.
it is. Yes. But she's delightful, and we got to know her very well. We went to hiking, actually, quite a bit on both trips. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure what they're called, but there's these printed guides on like a tree or a stick that's sticking up or a telephone pole. You'll see this guide that tells you, how to traverse the trails there. So it'll be a blaze, sort of like a painted on blaze that tells you to turn here or to go straight or don't go this way. And I'm not sure what the
a path marker?
Correct. Yes. And that's
okay.
Is that just in the Lubéron, or is that all over France?
No, you can find that anywhere because the Lubéron is a Parc National du Lubéron.
Yes.
Or it might be a Parc Régional du Lubéron. I forget if it's a regional or a national. But
I think.
You think, yeah?
I think national, yeah.
Okay. So it's the Parc National du Lubéron, and because it is a national park, it will have signage that's made for just national parks. But other French national parks will have them too.
Okay.
We have the national parks, we have the regional parks. There's different levels, but yeah, they all have signs telling you where the path is and all that. Yeah.
And some of them will be like across private property. This is someone lives here, and you're on this trail that goes behind their house. So we did quite a bit of that, and it's easy to follow. And we would go actually mushrooming. We looked for things to forage, which my husband likes to do back here in the States, and we did find some mushrooms. And we went through this one trail at the Gorge de Regalion, and that is outside of Marindol, and that's this great crack in the mountain, in the Lubéron. So you actually walk through the center of the Lubéron. And
so tell me the name again. Gorge de what?
Gorge de Regalion. Regalon.
Régalon. Les gorges de Régalon.
Régalon.
You are such a good sport. I love it.
So that was a fantastic hike because it takes you through this crevice, and for a long time, you're walking like through the center of the crack in the mountain, and it's like cold, like it gets very chilly through there because you're in the center of the mountain. And then it kind of opens up, and there's many, many caves in that area as well.
Wow, that looks like fun.
And then it opens up if you do the loop trail, and opens up and you come out on the top of the mountain, and you have this great vantage point. It's like open space, and you can see really far. You can see almost clear to the sea from the top there. And it's just kind of two different juxtapositions of the going through the crack of the mountain, and then you get up on this vantage point that's wide open space, and there's wild thyme and wild rosemary growing everywhere, and just vast open space. It's very pretty hike, and I would recommend it.
Oh, it looks very nice. Very nice. I'm looking at some photos while you're talking.
Yes, I did make
cool.
photos from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's we did a lot of that, and the beautiful drive back and forth to Gord we've taken that several times because we were driving a car that we picked up in Germany, and it was just fun to drive through there. It's very windy switchbacks. And
yes, of course. It's
beautiful.
rocky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and Gord is a beautiful town. I mean, everybody, raved about it.
I was hoping to see someone famous, but it is very, very picturesque. There's nothing like that little town perched on the top of this hill and steep little windy streets. It's great for shopping if you're looking for souvenirs and things like that. It's a great place to stop.
They probably have art galleries and stuff, right?
A lot of art galleries there. Yes.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
No, but I know places like that. I mean, really, really picturesque villages like that. If they attract a lot of visitors, they will normally have beautiful art galleries because, if you're an artist, you need to go sell your stuff where people have money, and people who travel a long way to come see Gord probably have more money than people who don't.
Right. Yes, that's true.
So, yeah.
And then several times we made a day trip. Well, it doesn't take that long. It was probably an hour to get to Vacara or Gigondas, which is kind of like the little brother to Châteauneuf.
Châteauneuf-du-Pass. Yeah. Vaqueras.
Okay, Vaqueras is like so many people are familiar with the Châteauneuf-du-Pape.
Yes, of course, yes.
Region, but this is kind of like a lesser known area right near there, and Gigondas as well as a very, very good wine, just lesser known and cheaper than Châteauneuf-du-Pape.
Oh, that's good. And Gigondas, how do you spell that?
Gigondas, Gigondas, I believe.
Okay, Gigondas, okay.
But Vacara has a fantastic co-op there where it's a huge place, massive place. And if you go to the Vacara co-op and you go in, it's like a tasting bar there. And you can try all of the regional wines, the Vacaras, all of the Gigondas. I don't believe they had any Châteauneuf there, but it's mainly, some of the close regional varietals there.
Right.
And you try them, and then many of them they have on tap there. So if you bring your empty 3-liter soda bottle, or they have these huge, massive jugs there.
They will sell you a jug for like a couple of euros.
Yeah. You buy the jug, and then they kind of put the pump in the jug, and it's like a gasoline pump style type thing.
Yeah.
And they fill up your 2-gallon jug with this.
And you go away happy. And you probably pay what, 10 euros?
Oh, it's so cheap. It's extremely, extremely cheap. And so we would go with jugs and it's fantastic quality. The quality of the wine is very, very good, and it's dirt cheap. So we would go there several times during our trip to fill up our jugs, and it's just kind of funny having a jug of wine,
It's fantastic. Yeah.
For anyone here in the States, we're not used to that, but
well, Well, the thing is, Americans think that French people are super fancy when it comes to wine, but I found it's actually the opposite.
I
It's Americans who are super fussy about wine. French people will drink it out of anything, a jug, a mug, whatever,
doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that we have times. It's the time that matters here. You don't want to start drinking wine at the wrong time of day, but otherwise you can drink it any way you like.
Okay. And there's a delightful cafe there as well. So if you're there to buy the wine, you might as well go to the cafe. It's, I'm not sure if you call them the plains.
Are you talking about Vaqueras there or Zondas?
No, Vaqueras.
Vaqueras, okay.
And do you call them the plains trees? Those giant
Les platanes. Platane.
Is that what you call them?
Yes, in French.
Okay. That line the streets. So there's this one street with these gorgeous trees just lining the street there. It's a tiny town. There's not too much to it. But the trees line the street, and then there's this cafe. I think it's Café de Coeur, Cafe of the Heart. And,
Café du Cœur. Oh, nice. Café du Cœur. That's very
yes. And they have, it doesn't look like much. It looks like, a bar restaurant type of a place, but they have an outdoor grill there. And we have gone back there several times. One time they had where they barbecue the duck meat on a skewer. And when they bring it to the table, it's hung up on this sort of, like an arm that hangs over the plate. They hang the duck that's been barbecued on that skewer, and it drips onto your plate, which has lentils or whatever your side dish is, and it's fantastic. It's really
sounds good. You're making me hungry.
Oh, I'm hungry as well.
yeah, it's breakfast time where you are.
Yes, it is. Yes. So we did a lot of eating. We did a lot of eating, and the food trucks there, the pizza trucks are dangerous because we found one that we really liked, and we followed him around to several towns. And it's just amazing how easy it is for them to make good pizza. The pizza in France, it's really good. And
it's good. Yeah. Well, it's good ingredients because you pay at least 12 euros for a for a pizza for one person.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you pay 12 euros for a pizza, they can afford to put better ingredients in it. Whereas in America, you pay $3 for a pizza. And of course, it tastes like cardboard.
That's true. I hadn't thought of it that way. But this truck was dangerous because he was around late into the night, and some evenings we would walk there at like 11 o'clock at night and get a pizza, and it was just so good, and we probably would get two and come home with two pizzas. Yeah, he had. So we did a lot of eating. We gained a lot of weight.
That man, he probably goes, "Oh, I wish the Americans were back. They were buying my pizzas at midnight. I like them."
He probably does. But. And then we went to this one place actually that wasn't French. It was Vietnamese food. A Frenchman who had a Vietnamese wife, and that was tremendous. It was in La Tour d'Aigle, Aigues, La Tour d'Aigle.
Gues?
Yes.
La Tour d'Aigle.
La Tour d'Aigle.
Yeah.
And it's just a tiny little place called La Perle de Jade.
Okay. La Perle de Jade.
Jade. Jade.
Yes. Yeah.
And they do a great, if you know what Vietnamese hot pot or Vietnamese fondue is, where they bring, the raw meats to your table and a boiling cauldron of broth, like that homemade broth.
Yeah.
Then you cook your own meat and vegetables at the table in the broth, and they do a really good job of it. We've been there several times as well.
Very nice.
Delightful couple, too. Very talkative.
No, that's good. That's good.
So yeah, we did a lot of eating, and we did go to, as you've mentioned on your show before, Cassis.
Yeah.
We went sightseeing there several times and hiking there as well.
We went to the Calanque.
We went to the Calanque. We did swimming in the Calanques at the bottom, and that was just fantastic. We just, you're hot because you're hiking, and then you get to the bottom. There's this refreshing pool, and you just strip down, and all the locals are there as well, and that's fun.
That's great.
And then you lay out on a rock and get hot again, and
become a lizard.
Yeah,
join the lizards.
It's a very challenging hike, though. There, if you're not expecting it, you may be surprised because it's more elevation change than you may expect. And I don't know if all the books tell you that, but we didn't know that. And
it's up and down a lot.
Yeah. Well, if you want to go to the bottom, every Calanque is, that's a lot.
Deep.
That's a lot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a lot of up and down hiking, but we enjoyed it very much. It was nice, and we went to Marseille. We went to a soccer match in Marseille. That was very unique, and I'll never forget it.
Why? What was so strange about it?
Well, the fans are so. The energy that they have, I don't know if I could have sustained just the physical aspect of what they were doing, because they sing, they jump, they chant, they're going crazy. They're going nuts for the entire length of the game, and for us, we couldn't even hear each other standing right next to each other because it's so loud.
Yeah,
it's so loud. But it was such an experience. We had a great time there as well. We didn't know the chants, of course, and we were probably sitting in the wrong area for the Marseille supporters. But it was an experience. If you've never been to a match like that in Europe, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Soccer is very fun. Or if you're in the Southwest, rugby is even funner.
Yeah. That would be fun. I would do that for sure. And so then we went down, along the coast there where the Camargue is, and the the flamingos and the horses and the salt bays, and Coucaron is beautiful as well. We that's close to where we were staying, and that's a delightful little town. They have a great market there as well.
So hang on,
Coucaron is Cucuron. Coucaron. Is that Coucaron?
That's a funny name.
It is a funny name. It is a funny name, but
because in French, cucu means you're behind. That's what little children say. Je suis tombé sur mon cucu. So,
it's the same.
It's the rounded behind.
Oh, that's very funny. Oh, that's very funny.
Yeah.
Well, there's a nice square there, which is lined by the plains trees, and then it has a big pool in the center of town, like this giant man-made pool. And so it makes a very picturesque place to sit and sip something or have something to eat. And it's also where they have the markets right there as well. And there's some unusual things at that market that weren't at all the other markets. So I would definitely check that one out as well. But the center of town is very picturesque and a nice place to just walk around a little bit.
So go to the market of rounded bottoms.
The market of rounded bottoms. That's really funny. I wonder if there is something to that name. I'm just wondering how that came about now that you say that.
Coucuron? I don't know.
Yeah.
We have really silly names in French villages. Sometimes have really. One day I should make a list and put that on the Facebook page. We get all sorts of funny village names. This one is a cute one,
Yeah.
and not offensive. I mean, it's like some of them you're like, oh my goodness, who lives there? But that one is cute. It's very cute.
There was this little wine bar as well right in Marindol that's was called the Cave d'Ami, Cave of My Friends.
Yes.
Cave of My Friend. And that had...
La Cave des Amis, La Cave des Amis,
yes.
La Cave aux Amis.
Yes. And that was a little bit unusual because it was this is a very rural area where we stayed with like not a lot of nightlife happening. It wasn't somewhere that, people stay up late and party. It's where, farmers live there. They're working hard all day, and at the end of the day, they go to bed, So this was kind of a nice little wine bar, loungy style wine bar that had live music at night, and it was a cool place. So I would guess if you're staying there long term, it's a nice place to take note of. I think there was another place in Lubéron that we found that was similar to that, like had a loungy feel to it, where there were people kind of staying up late, chatting, but that's not very usual. It's maybe in the summer, but I haven't been there during the summer. So we were there, most of the time we were there was early to late autumn, and it's nice because it's kind of quiet, and not a lot of tourists were around. Mm-hmm. So it's, not like you're waiting for a table at places, and that was really nice, but maybe it makes it for a little bit of a quieter.
So in Mirandol, I'm finding one called La Cave à Aimer.
Yes.
That's it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, parce que there's a thing called La Cave aux Amis, but that's not anywhere near there. So
no. Okay.
So it's La Cave à Aimer. Aimer
Correct.
being the name of a person.
Oh, okay. Amy. Okay.
No, not Amy. A man's name. Aimer is a man's name.
Oh.
It means beloved.
Oh.
It's an
a
old
nice name.
It's an old person name, but it's
That's a nice name.
It's a very nice name.
I like the meaning.
Yeah. Beloved. It's a good name.
Beloved, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Wow, you got around.
Yes. Yes.
So
we
in
did.
your list, you also mentioned you went to Fontaine de Vaucluse.
Ah, yes. So there is an area there where there's like this underground aqueduct. I think that's what it is, an underground aqueduct. And then in the springtime, it comes out of the ground, and it makes this giant, it has made this giant hole of...
What? That's not making any sense. What?
It's not making sense.
No, not to me. What?
So it comes out of the ground. And
how does it come out of the ground?
It comes out of the ground into this... it's kind of like in the side of the mountain. It has become... Well, when it's empty and it's not coming out, and it's maybe later in the season, it's just this hole in the ground, this giant hole in the side of the mountain at the base of the mountain. Yeah. And there is some water in it, and it's like this blue-green aquamarine water.
Oh, okay. I'm okay. I looked it up. So it's like a natural pool or something. Correct.
Yes. And then in the springtime, it floods the area around because there's so much water coming out of it. So in the springtime, the area will be all underwater. But in the late fall, it was just kind of like this pool, this dreamy, beautiful looking pool.
Yeah, the color is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a neat thing to go and see and read about. And they have markers along the side that show you how high the water comes up. And it's an interesting place. And they had a nice market there as well, for buying more souvenir type things. But it was all the whole pathway down to the Vaucluse, or down to the fountain, I guess it is. They had market style little booths there. So it was very nice. It was a fun thing to go see. And that town is pretty as well. Because there's water flowing all around. You can tell it's a watery region. It's pretty picturesque.
Wow, I'm gonna have to go there. That looks fun. Do people swim in it?
I would assume they do, but I guess there's always the chance that water erupts out of it. I don't know that they can predict it. Like I just picture it spouting up when I'm trying to swim in there or something,
and
but
eating you alive.
Yeah, drowning me.
Wow. That's an interesting. I never heard of that. One more thing to put on my list.
I think so.
And then you talk about going to Beaulieu.
Oh, yes. That's a beautiful little town. And actually, it's on that drive that goes through the mountain up to Gordes. If you take that drive, it's along the way, and it's worth stopping there. First of all, if you're approaching from the south, it's very, like I said, it's these switchbacks, and you're driving on the side of a cliff. So it's very steep.
Nice.
There, that town. And if you get to the top, you can drive almost all the way to the top, but it's a little bit of a hike up to the top. There's a church up there, and these beautiful trees. And I'm not sure what type of trees. There's some sort of evergreen trees, but the boughs of them are like longer lengths than normal. So they're these outstretched trees that kind of stretch into each other and they frame this overlook of this beautiful valley just perfectly. It's pretty spectacular, and it smells very piney up there, and it's the wind blowing. It's a very nice place to stop off and have a little picnic up there, or there's plenty of places to eat in that town as well. We had a lunch there one time, and it's a very pretty town because it's steep and it overlooks the valley, so it's picturesque. That
looks very nice. Yeah, I'm trying to look at the trees to see if I can figure out what they are, and
it may be sure. I don't know. It may be cedars, but I wouldn't think that they would have such long. They had these long boughs that would be.
Well, okay, so they kind of look like pin parasol, what I'd call a pin parasol, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'd have to go. I'm gonna have to go and check it out because I can't tell from the photos what they are, but they look nice. It looks like a really scenic little place to visit.
It is.
Yeah. It is. And then, of course, you went to Roussillon.
Ah, yes. So that area is known for the color of the rocks there. Yes. It's red. Not all red, but there are different. There'll be layers. Some of the layers will be red and then white and then red again. And the town itself is very pleasant to walk through, and they do have a lot of the red rocks right in town. I mean, it's built on the side of one of the red rocks, the Red Mountains. But you can purchase there like paints that are made from the pigment in the dust. Or you can go hiking there, which we did a lot of hiking there, and it's just spectacular. It's different than any other part of France or in the Lubéron than I had seen before. The topography is different. The formations of the rock is different. And then the color against all these like rainbow of colors, even there were some that were kind of purplish. It looks like somebody painted.
From the photos, it kind of looks like southern Utah a little bit.
It does. It actually reminds me a lot of Colorado, where I am,
Yeah,
there's a lot of red dirt here too, and it
yeah.
stains your socks. If you're having a white sock day, it can stain your socks. So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but it's a very beautiful area to go walking around. I would recommend, if you're going, not to just walk through town, but to actually go hiking nearby at some of the trails. It's really spectacular.
Right, it's open, right? You can just go hike around. It's not like there's an entrance fee or anything. You can just walk
No,
around.
you can walk around. I think they do have something like that right in town. That's just you probably have to pay to walk through it, but for the most part, there are parks around that are close by there that have
The
free
same formations. Yeah,
the same
stuff.
formations. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. And then the last thing we're going to mention, because we've been talking for almost an hour and 20 minutes. So let's talk about the Abbaye de Sénanque a little bit, because it's very famous.
Yes, I did not know this, and we kind of just fell upon it. Actually, we were just driving. We weren't going there to purposefully. We just kind of drove past, and we're like, "Oh, what is this?" And but it is apparently
somewhere. When you live there, you just go, "Oh, I'm going to check that out. I don't know what it is." It's only world famous.
It's the most famously photographed lavender fields in all of France, and it truly is. The products that they make there are like nothing else. It's the monks, I guess it's the monks there that live there. They make the lavender oil, and it's so potent and so different than any other lavender that you'll get. So that was a beautiful place to walk around as well. And just the building is pretty, the setting is nice, but the lavender fields are all around, this kind of like gray, old looking convent type building. And it's a really spectacular place to take pictures.
Yeah. Especially if you go at the right time of year.
Yes.
Which is, somewhere mid-July is when, mid to late July is when it's in full bloom.
Yes. Yeah, we weren't there at the full bloom, but it's still beautiful. I mean, it's still, and it's heavenly scented. It's everywhere. So it permeates.
Well, that's the thing about the Lubéron is really the light and the smell and the sounds of the cicadas and the sound of the wind. It's a very, very distinct kind of environment. As far as it's unlike the rest of France. If you walk around the southwest where I am, we do get cicadas a little bit, but not like in Provence. And we don't have this, I don't know, when you go to Provence, you have this dry air, and you have lavender that grows wild, you have thyme that grows wild, you have rosemary, and when you step on them, as you hike around, you will step on these little plants, and it smells. The smells are fantastic. And the air is dry because it gets windy. Did you get a lot of wind when you were?
Yes. It gets windy. It has that sort of. I mean, it definitely feels Mediterranean because the air is coming from the sea, but it is dry. And it's magical. It's almost like the air sparkles. There is something about it that is almost like vibrating. It's really a beautiful place.
And it's for good reason that, people like Van Gogh and Cézanne and all these people, that's what they painted. Because the light was just intriguing. The area is just intriguing. But yeah, Provence is magical. The thing is, it's also very crowded. So being in the Lubéron is not quite as crowded, but it's getting crowded because even for French people, you're only half hour north of Aix. So if you can't afford a house in Aix as a young, working person, you probably will try to find a house in one of these old villages, and they're also expensive. Not quite as, you know what I mean. You commute, you don't have to pay quite as much.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably less expensive in certain areas than others, but it's a lovely place to live, even if it's just for, a couple of months. It was like a
Rent
beautiful place to live. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes for memories of a lifetime, I think. I mean, anywhere beautiful you go to live that's different from what you're used to, I think will enrich your life. But a place like Provence or the Lubéron is truly outstanding because it's so dang gorgeous. So, well, thank you so much, Heather, for taking time to talk with me. I know you got up very early on this Sunday morning to do this, so I appreciate that. You're very nice.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much, Annie.
And you had sent me other tips that we didn't get to, so I'll probably just list on the show notes. I will list some other things that didn't get to that you recommend.
Okay.
Because there were a few more that I'm just a gabber, so I keep people talking to me.
I am too. So, 2 gabbers.
Very much, Heather.
Okay. Bye-bye, Annie.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Thank you for listening to the show. To connect with me, you can email me, Annie at joinusinfrance.com, or leave me a voicemail by calling 1-801-806-1015. If you enjoy the show and would like to express your appreciation for what we do here, please visit joinusinfrance.com/support, where you can donate, tip your guide, or help us earn a commission when making purchases. Again, that's joinusinfrance.com/support. This episode is licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Non-Derivatives International License. Au revoir!